In the last stream, we were working on automating the production of nitro crystals because these are one of the 7 items required in order to make the final star shards. Specifically, we need 1,680 of every single one of these 7 items, and between streams, the system has been working as intended, and over here we now have exactly 1,680 nitro crystals ready to go, and over at the back of the island here, our precision mechanism system has also filled this drawer with 2,048 precision mechanisms. It actually went a little too far when we started to dump some precision mechanisms into this chest here as well. For now, I've gone ahead and turned the electric motor off, which is why the system is no longer running, but we have all of the precision mechanisms required. We have all of the nitro crystals required. Over on this side of the base, I'm fairly certain that we have over 1,680 of the basic mechanical essence. We do indeed. We've got 1,700. The same is true for the regular mechanical essence. We've got close to 2,000. Between streams, I've done a little bit of work to try and increase the speed at which we are producing the improved mechanical essence. Specifically, I've changed a couple of the recipes over in the crafters. This one right here, I've changed to produce 10 dominant effigies at once instead of 1 at a time. That just makes the dominant effigy production a little bit faster. The same is true over here. I've tweaked the recipe for the basic control circuits to make 64 of those at a time, and I've also increased the number of elite control circuits that are made at a time as well, so that both the improved and the advanced mechanical essence gets made faster. That is the plan, at least. We've got 257 improved mechanical essence, so it's still not doing particularly well, and again, it's just the control circuits that are slowing us down here. You'll see we're full up on everything apart from control circuits. One thing we can do to make everything a little faster is just turn this right up to the max. That is going to use a little bit more power, but 240 redstone flux per tick is nothing compared to the millions that we are making, and it might not be a terrible idea to look at setting up a metallurgic infuser right behind this basin here and just export osmium to it continuously to continuously make control circuits to pump into this basin. I think that would massively increase the speed at which we're generating the improved mechanical essence, and then once we have at least 1,680 of those, we can then look at getting up to 1,680 of these advanced mechanical essence. Again, at some point we are going to have to get rid of this EMC link so that we can start backing up on those, but for now, that's not necessarily what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on getting the refined radiance automated, because that is the final item on here that we don't have any of yet. And once we have refined radiance automated, I then want to look at getting the ultimate crafting table and getting some of these quantum compressors so that we can start making these singularities, crafting the ultimate singularities, and hopefully try and get the 8 ultimate singularities required to get all of the final stars that we need, along with just the 1 singularity required here for that final power flower. On the antimatter front, we're getting there slowly but surely. We have 620 millibuckets of antimatter. Once this gets to 1,000, that will give us our 5th antimatter, and then we just need 1 more. We need 6 in total to make the creative chemical tank, and so I think that should also be fine. So in terms of the refined radiance, this is made in a mechanical mixer with a superheated blaze burner. It combines refined mixture with chromatic compound. I'm going to bookmark both of those. The refined mixture is made in another mixer, again with another superheated blaze burner. This time it requires HDPE sheets, water, gold, Mobius fuel, and glowstone. So thankfully the Mobius fuel and the glowstone have an EMC. Getting those into the basin is going to be fairly straightforward. Water we have in infinite quantities, and gold we're making a fairly large amount of from our 10x ore processing system, and so I don't think we have to worry about any of those. The only thing we might have to worry about is HDPE. I did notice that our current HDPE system isn't working. You'll notice there's 1 HDPE pellet in here. There are no HDPE sheets in this drawer, and the reason for that is that it looks like the system produces more ethylene than it uses. So right here, this pressurized reaction chamber is supposed to turn biofuel into substrate. That substrate then gets turned into HDPE pellets, which are then turned into HDPE sheets. But right here, that's not happening because this tank is full of ethylene. And so I think what we should probably look to do is potentially just get another very large chemical tank so that we can buffer a very large amount of ethylene. Thankfully, these are fairly straightforward to make. We can go ahead and request everything required. And in fact, it's going to be easier if we do that in here. We don't have to wait for the osmium to arrive. I don't know if we have, we never have the infused alloys required. That's fine. I can go ahead and take some iron to make that happen. as for the elite, we then need 4 reinforced alloys, and of course, for the ultimate, we need 4 atomic alloys. So real quick, we do have the 4 atomic alloys. I'll request 4 of those. And then as for the reinforced alloys, we can just go ahead and request 4 of those. Nice. That should not take the system too long whatsoever. Over here, it's a little tricky now because this is full of osmium. We could potentially do with upgrading this. And also, actually, yeah, the problem is the enrichment chamber. The enrichment chamber is not producing the enriched redstone fast enough for the infusing factory. So there's probably 2 things that we can do here to make this a little better. We could do with getting an installer to turn this into a factory, and then we could potentially also do with increasing the tier of the low retrieval module in here. Alternatively, we could also look at swapping out redstone dust for redstone blocks. Never mind, that totally does not work. You can put the redstone blocks directly into the metallurgic infuser, but you can't put redstone blocks into the enrichment chamber to get 9 enriched redstone. That doesn't work. That's fine. Let's swap you back out for redstone. And before we do that, let's go ahead and upgrade this retrieval module to the medium retrieval module, and then of course up to the high retrieval module. And hopefully that is good enough to keep up with demand here. We'll then try and get the installer in here. I do have a feeling that the installer is not going to get made until we clear this backlog of osmium. And so real quick, let's make you faster and then just make this even faster. That is very quickly working its way through the backlog of osmium. I'm going to throw a stack of iron in there as well just to get a ton of alloys because we need those alloys to make the chemical tanks. And there we go. Once all that is done, we should have an installer coming over here. We do have the reinforced and atomic alloys and the infused alloy. And then there are our installers. We'll take both of those and we'll use those to try and increase the speed of this enrichment chamber that's making the redstone. So we'll do this and this. That should hopefully start to make the enriched redstone a lot faster, hopefully fast enough to keep up with big influxes of osmium. Again, the osmium is only going to come when we run out of circuits, the basic control circuits that we're using to make the improved mechanical essence over here. So once they deplete, then it'll send another big old batch of osmium to be turned into circuits. But now that we have all of these infused alloys, it should be fairly straightforward for us to upgrade the basic chemical tank to an advanced chemical tank. We can then turn the advanced chemical tank into an elite chemical tank, and then we can turn the elite chemical tank into an ultimate chemical tank. This can hold over 8 million millibuckets of ethanol, and over here, let's have a look. How much do we have in here? We've got 9,000 millibuckets in here, and then a further 10,000 millibuckets in there. That should be fine. The ethanol is a gas at this point in time, and so if we quickly swap this to wrench mode, we should be able to right-click to get that off, and then we can place the tank down like so, at which point this is already set to auto-eject, so it's going to automatically push the ethylene down into here. All we should then have to do is set the left side here to output and make sure the auto-eject is on, which it is by default. And so now all of the ethylene is going to pass through this ultimate chemical tank round and into the rotary condensator, which is going to turn the ethylene into liquid ethylene, which we then need to actually make the HDPE pellets. And the added benefit here is that the bottom right button on the chemical tank allows us to dump excess. So even if we manage to fill this tank with 8,192,000 millibuckets of ethylene, that's going to be completely fine because the system still won't back up, because this tank is just going to delete any excess ethylene that is produced, which is perfect. Now, I do think we are almost certainly going to want to get a bunch of speed and energy upgrades to make a lot of these machines faster. Unfortunately, most of them don't have a factory version. As we've seen before, the PRC cannot be upgraded to a factory variant, but we can get a bunch of speed and energy upgrades and make all of these machines quite a bit faster to massively increase the amount of HDPE sheets that we're making, because again, we need 1,680 refined radiants. Each one of those requires 100 millibuckets of refined mixture. This is only made in batches of 250, which essentially means that it's about 2 HDPE sheets per refined radiance, so we need about 3,200 HDPE sheets in total to make the 1,680 refined radiance, which is quite a large amount. So real quick, I'm going to request a bunch of speed and energy upgrades. I might also get a couple extra as well, because I think a couple of the machines up here also don't have speed and energy upgrades. Like this enrichment chamber here that's turning diamonds into enriched diamonds isn't quite fast enough, especially when we try and make a stack of elite circuits at once. This infusing factory becomes depleted, and then the enriched diamond just isn't coming in fast enough to keep up with demand. Okay, so I have requested quite a lot of them, and there's a few more still being made, but I think this might be enough. Let's do this and this to make this enrichment chamber nice and fast, and then over here, let's see if we can't make basically all of the machines involved in HDPE production as fast as they possibly can be. Of course, we could make the enrichment chamber here into an enrichment factory, but I really don't think that's going to be the bottleneck. I think one of these pressurized reaction chambers is going to be what slows us down. And so let's just make sure that everything here is nice and fast, including the crusher that is making the biofuel up here. Again, it could quite possibly end up being the case that the wheat is what slows us down. We are quite nicely banked up on wheat right now, but in the future that might change, especially if we start tearing through it at an alarming rate. And then down here, we do of course have the production of both hydrogen and oxygen that is also being used, and that could quite possibly be the next bottleneck. You'll see here we are slowly but surely dropping in terms of hydrogen. So let me get a couple of speed upgrades and let's drop those in like so. As per usual, I'm always very cautious doing this because the electrolytic separator uses a ton of power when you start adding speed upgrades to it, but this does appear to be working. We're going up quite nicely in terms of HDPE sheets, and so this should be fine. Between streams, I did go ahead and craft 4 whisks and grab 4 cogwheels, and so getting 1, 2, 3, 4 more mechanical mixers is not going to be a problem. And then we also want to get 4 more basins. I think that's the right number. We are, of course, here going to have to request the andesite alloy required for those basins, but that's fine. Let's just take a stack of andesite alloy, and we need 1 mixer to make the actual refined radiance. We need another one to make the refined mixture. We need a third one to make the chromatic compound, and then for some reason, I thought there was a need for a 4th one. You can make andesite alloy with a mixer, but we've already automated the system without the mixer, so I don't think that's necessarily going to be required. We do need to get another set of crushing wheels, which I will go ahead and request. I would like 2 of these. Our system should still know how to do that, and hopefully this mechanical crafting wall kicks into gear to make those crushing wheels fairly quickly. And between streams, I was contemplating where I wanted to put this setup, but I think I'm going to try and weave it into this area here because we already have 3 crushing wheels down, and right now, these electric motors are capable of handling 2,048 stress units of total capacity, and each one of these wheels only uses 512. So there's actually the perfect amount of stress remaining to put 2 more crushing wheels on the front here. That will use 500 more stress units from each motor, maxing out what they can handle, and that just saves us having to make more motors and set up a new system elsewhere for more of the same thing. Now, in terms of obsidian, we do thankfully have obsidian being made for us. I believe we have a blast chiller on the back here. We do indeed, and I think what we will probably end up doing here is potentially just using a new ender chest frequency to allow us to move the obsidian very quickly from one area of the base to another. We could, of course, look, and we did some more wool here. That's fine. I don't know if we have enough. We totally do. Fantastic. We could obviously use a retrieval module, but just from a speed standpoint, I think it's going to be a lot faster. And we can also make this look fairly tidy if we clear out this and then just have an item pipe that's extracting from this frame drawer here down into a new ender chest. We will, of course, as per usual, grab 2 diamonds to lock this to us. Boom and boom. And then, do we have any purple dye in the system? We have 1 purple dye. I assume we potentially have what it takes to make another purple dye. We do. Nice. So we'll do purple and purple. Fantastic. That's going to be our obsidian frequency. And then I do believe we have a couple of item pipes left. We do indeed. And so what we'll do is we'll have 1 item pipe right about here, extracting down into this ender chest. That ender chest is then going to fill up on obsidian, which is fine. And then over here above the crushing wheels, we'll just do the same thing where we have the ender chest, but then this time we're going to extract from it down and into the crushing wheels. We can then put another depot on the bottom. In fact, I think we made a spare depot a little while back. We made 3 spare depots because I thought I would need them for the deployers over there. Turns out we did not. We can put that down right about here. And then, of course, we're going to run that to wherever we end up putting the mechanical mixer that's going to be in charge of making this refined radiance. So over here, this is not quite done because for some reason it's not got enough andesite alloy. That is fine. We can go ahead and do something like that, and the wall will automatically craft that into crushing wheels for us. And of course, those will get sent around over into here, and we can just go ahead and drop those directly in front of the pre-existing wheels. We'll put 1 right about there, another 1 right about here, and I think that should potentially just work. I'm not entirely certain on whether or not the item pipes from pipes can actually extract into the crushing wheels. It's possible we might need a different kind of pipe for that, although it would seem that our main problem right now is that we're not actually filling up the ender chest with obsidian. Not quite sure what happened there. The pipe wouldn't let me open it, and so I just broke it and replaced it, and that seems to have worked just fine. Maybe just a little server glitch, but then over here, yeah, this is working as intended. We are getting the powdered obsidian. You'll have to see it. Of course, we could make this pipe faster if we wanted to. We could also make these faster because, again, if we just crank the number here, this scales linearly, and so really we could go all the way up to max speed and make these crushing wheels as fast as we need. I'll leave them where they are for now, and then we'll see if they are fast enough to keep up with the production of the chromatic compound. Before we get too carried away with ourselves, though, let's focus back in on the refined mixture here. So I think we have basically everything we need, apart from, of course, 2 more blaze burners. So let's craft up 2 more empty blaze burners. I think we should have enough iron plates for that. We totally do. And then over here, we should have a fairly decent backlog of blaze effigies. We do indeed. We'll take 2 of those, and then it should just be as simple as we've seen many times before now, of just placing that down and then right-clicking with the blaze burner, trying to take as little damage, of course, as possible in the meantime. And then I think we will just potentially continue to do what we've been doing with our other blaze burner that requires superheating, this guy right here. In that, we'll get another 2 click machines, and then we can probably tap in to this pre-existing blaze cake making system, because I think we're currently making blaze cakes a lot faster than we're actually using them. As for the click machine, these things are pretty straightforward, so long as we have diorite, which it turns out we do not. That is fine. We do have a little bit of nether quartz remaining, in fact, just enough to make 2 of these click machines here. And so now we need to figure out where we are going to put all of this stuff. And of course, I did request all of this andesite alloy for a reason, and that was to allow us to craft the 3 required basins. So we'll do 1, 2, 3 of those, and then let's see, where do I want to put this? I think it's going to make sense to put it fairly close to this depot so that we can bring everything together fairly easily. So you know what, let me put it right about here. We'll, of course, get rid of the area underneath. We'll place down the blaze burner like so, and we'll drop the mechanical mixer on top like this. That also ensures that it's close enough for us to just put down a cogwheel next to it and connect it to our pre-existing kinetic energy. So over here, I think we have, I'm assuming, yeah, a stack of cogwheels. So we'll take those and we'll place one down directly next to this mechanical mixer, right about there. That's going to bring this mixer online, and then we might have to request some more pipes, because what I think I'm going to try and do here is tap into this pre-existing pipeline, and especially this pre-existing extraction module here. So we'll just pull this down like so, and then we're going to run that along and over to that new mixer, which is pretty close by, and in fact looks like it might just be close enough. Fantastic. So that should, of course, and this needs to be a clicker, not directly into the basin. Now, I think the clickers do go down towards us, and so what I might have to do here is get a few pieces of cobblestone, break this piece, and then try and place it down like that. I think that's kind of ideal, and then now we should see this right-clicking up onto here. It doesn't require power, that's fine. Let's increase it to 20 clicks per second just to make sure it's always clicking and is always ready. That is fantastic. Of course, right now, a little bit of a waste of blaze cakes because there's nothing in there to burn, but I think that is fine. So now we do need to get water into here. I'm just doing a quick check. We do have water available over here, and it might be pretty easy for us to just run that around and over. In fact, do we have any mechanical pipes remaining? We have 5 in our inventory, which, as it turns out, is the perfect amount. So that is going to turn, wait, water into zinc nuggets? You could just make zinc nuggets with water in a mixer? You totally can. I did not know that was the case. So you can just make zinc with create. Interesting. That's obviously not what we're trying to make. We need to also send over gold, Mobius fuel, glowstone, and HDPE sheets. Now, the HDPE sheets are currently not connected to our pipe network, but I think we can rectify that. And then let's just get actually some more pipes requested as well, and then we'll hook that up to the basin, get in a high retrieval module, and then specify all of the items here that we want sending over, because gold we have, Mobius fuel we have, glowstone we have, and once we've connected up HDPE sheets, those we will have as well. Okay, so in my attempt to continually spaghettify the pipe network, I've now connected up the HDPE drawers, and then over here I've also dropped down a pipe next to this basin, and I've got a high retrieval module, so we need to tell this to request gold ingots. We also need the Mobius fuel, along with the glowstone, and a single HDPE sheet. So if we put all of these into here, we are then going to have to specify, I believe, what we want the basin to make to prevent it from turning water into zinc nuggets. But it should start sending everything else over. Once we have at least some refined mixture, I'm not entirely certain how it works, but I think maybe I can take a bucket of the stuff and kind of place it on the front. That might work. Let me temporarily go ahead and get rid of this, just so we can allow it to fill up on all the things we actually wanted to fill up on before it starts mixing. Okay, so everything we need is in there. Let's try putting that together again. Not like that, of course. Ideally, we'd want it like this. And I'm hoping that's going to make, yeah, the refined mixture. Nice. Okay, that is working. It is also going to make some zinc, which is less than ideal. Let me go ahead and break that again real quick. And let's see. So we've got 500 millibuckets of refined mixture. We've got a few zinc pieces as well. I don't think the zinc being in there should matter. If I do this again, is that going to make us another 500 millibuckets of refined mixture? It totally is. Fantastic. So let me see here. If I were to grab a bucket, and if I were to right-click on here, surely I would get refined radiance. Of course not. That would be too easy. We've also got a lot of thick potion, which is also not exactly what I'm after. Let me go ahead and break this temporarily. There's almost certainly a better way of doing this, but let me take this out. That's water. That's also water. Can I not bucket out the refined radiance? I don't think there's a bucket of refined radiance. The thing in JEI here shows it in a tank. Let me try getting a tank from mechanism. And then if we press N, we can turn that into bucket mode. And then, can I get the refined radiance? The answer is maybe, if I can get rid of this thick potion, which again, you can't put on the ground. Okay, fine. Let me make another tank. Let me get rid of this one because we don't need it. And in fact, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and throw it off into the void because it is entirely useless. And then let's see. Can I get refined mixture? I can. Can I then filter it? Maybe. I've put a tank in that has refined radiance in it. I don't know if that's going to work, but there's only one way to find out. If I do this, it doesn't make zinc nuggets, which is good, but that makes sense because there's no water. If I do this, does it make zinc nuggets? It does make refined mixture, which is good. And it doesn't make zinc nuggets, which is even better. So I'll take everything out here, and that does appear to be working. Okay, it's a little bit of a convoluted method, but it looks like if we get a basic tank and get refined mixture into that basic tank, we can then use that as the filter for the basin. And then now that I've taken the zinc out, everything that we need should get sent over there. I think the only problem we're going to run into now is the fact that our Pretty Pipes network doesn't have access to Mobius fuel, because although we have a draw for it, I don't believe that we have an EMC link for it. So let me quickly go ahead and... Oh no, we do have an EMC link for it. I think we're just probably using it too much in the creation of the inert advanced mechanical essence. And so it's quite possible here that we do in fact want to upgrade this basic EMC link to a higher tier, because I think that's probably what's slowing us down. We can see over here that the changes that I made have been working. We have got almost 800 improved mechanical essence there, so we're getting close to halfway to the 1,680 that we need, which is very, very nice. Over here, we do have a little bit more Mobius fuel, and so we'll take the brand new tier 4 EMC link, put that right back down right about there, give that Mobius fuel, and now we should start making that Mobius fuel much, much faster. It's already got a higher tier logistical transporter, so that should also be fine. And so hopefully we see more of that going through. There's also the possibility, I guess, that, yeah, we have a draw downgrade on here. That's probably fine. We don't necessarily need to have more than 64 in at any given time period. This is now full of refined mixture, which is fine. We need to pump that refined mixture round and into another basin, a basin with the chromatic compound. So let's put our next basin down. And I see no reason not to put it down, like maybe, I was going to say right here. The only trouble with putting it here is that it's going to connect instantly to that pipe, and I don't know of an easy way for us to fix that. I guess we could disconnect it and then book it out. But you know what? Let's put it like here, for simplicity's sake. Then what we'll do is we'll grab ourselves a fluid pipe of some persuasion. Let's make a few more of these basic and mechanical pipes. I think basic is going to get the job done. And then if we do this, we should be able to set this guy here to extract. and that's going to pull that refined radiance around. And then it looks like we are going to have to set up a system of whitelisting, because we don't want the water to be in there. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think what we can probably do here is once again utilize the pipes mod. If we make a fluid pipe here, as opposed to the item pipes that we have been making, we should then be able to place 2 of them down here and here, like that. And then, much like with the item pipes, if we can get a high enough pipe upgrade, we should be able to filter specifically for the refined radiance. So let me give this a try. Let's take the pipe wrench, let's set this to extract, let's install the advanced upgrade, and then in here we're going to add this. Yes, the refined mixture. You'll see that it did know that I was trying to add the liquid inside the tank and not the tank itself, which is ideal. And so now, if we get another bucket and we empty out the water that's in here, it should then just get refined radiance going forward, which is exactly what we want. We, of course, need another mechanical mixer, and, of course, we need yet another blaze burner along with another clicker. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Let's place the blaze burner down right about here. Let's get some cobblestone down here and here. Get rid of this piece. Drop down the old clicker like that. And then, of course, connect that up to our pre-existing cake-providing pipeline, which is this one right here. That should provide blaze cakes to this click machine as well, which is once again going to bring this blaze burner up to superheated territory, at which point we can cover that up. And now we just need to get powdered obsidian, andesite alloy, glowing ingots, and polished rose quartz into this mixture, and then we need a final mixer that's going to mix all of this stuff together. So actually I've done this incorrectly, right? Because we need another mixer here. We're not sending the obsidian to this mixer. This is where the chromatic compound and the refined mixture is going. But we need to first make the chromatic compound, which does require another blaze burner. So I do need to make a third one and a third clicker, but that's fine. So we need another mixer that's going to go down right about here. This mixer is where we need to send the powdered obsidian, the andesite alloy, the glowing ingot, and the polished rose quartz. So the andesite alloy, our system already knows how to make. That is fine. The powdered obsidian we're already making. What we'll probably do is get a storage drawer for it and then connect up the Pretty Pipes network to that powdered obsidian storage drawer so that we can request it be sent over to this basin. The glowing ingot and the polished rose quartz. Polished rose quartz we've made before. Up until now, we've done it with sandpaper, although I think we're going to want to pivot to using the enrichment chamber, just because it's more automatable. And the rose quartz you can make, again, we've been using this crafting recipe here with 1 nether quartz and 8 redstone, but I think we probably want to pivot to this recipe right here using redstone and a nether quartz in a metallurgic infuser. And it's at this point that my lack of preparation is going to bite me in the backside, because we don't have nether quartz being automatically made. And so we're probably going to have to automate this right here, the production of nether quartz using soul sand, which I think is going to be fine. We do have, of course, our encased fan down here. I think what I'll probably end up doing is potentially moving that over to here, again, so that we can connect it up to potentially one of our pre-existing motors. And then from there, we can look at sending soul sand automatically, which is, of course, EMCable, and that will produce all of the nether quartz we need to make all of the rose quartz, to make all of the polished rose quartz. And then the final piece of the puzzle is going to be glowing ingots. The glowing ingots are made with brass ingots and a spout on a depot with lava. Okay, so that seems fairly straightforward. The spout is, to my knowledge, not particularly difficult to make. It is this guy right here. It requires 1 dried kelp and 1 copper casing. We do not have a copper casing, but the copper casing is just a stripped log and a copper ingot. And so if we grab 1 log, can I strip a log with the Morning Star? I cannot. That is fine. Let's go ahead and grab our 1 Minecraft X just to do that. Fantastic. And then if we grab a single copper ingot, we can then do this. That gets us the copper casing. And at that point, we have what it takes to make the spout. Nice. We then, of course, do still have 2 depots remaining, so we'll take that as well. And then lava, we have available over here. And so what I think we'll probably do is maybe get rid of that blaze cake for now, but we can potentially just go ahead and put another spout here, put the depot here, and then we just need to export brass to that depot, and that's going to begin producing the glowing ingots, which I think is ideal. So we'll grab our pipes, and we'll, of course, connect that to our main pipe network, which is this pipe right here. It's getting a little tricky to remember which pipe is which, but this one right here is our blaze cake pipe. That's not connected to the main line and doesn't want to be connected to the main line, otherwise we're going to end up with blaze cakes everywhere. But over here, we just need another retrieval module. We'll, of course, upgrade that to medium and to high. And I don't think our system currently knows how to make brass. It's just an alloy between the copper and the zinc. And in fact, what I might do, just because I think it's going to be easier and quicker, is I might get another induction smelter and just have that dedicated to making the brass. If we put the induction smelter here, and of course we'll get a flux point behind it like that, connect that up to our network, like so. And so now we'll send the brass and the copper to the induction smelter. The induction smelter will make the brass. The brass will get sent over to here. That will get made into brass ingots. And then from there, we can probably just get another item pipe. We'll extract that out into a storage drawer. That storage drawer will hold the brass ingots. We might even put a downgrade in it, although I don't think it's strictly necessary. We've got thousands upon thousands of copper at this point, so it's probably fine. But so we can connect that up to the network, and then those glowing ingots can just be sent over to this basin. So I think a lot of this is going to be fine. Real quick, let me get another blaze burner, because we do need a third one here. Hopefully we have what it takes, but nope, it's finally caught up to us. We are indeed out of iron plates. That is fine. Does it have to be specifically iron plates from Create? It does not. It can be any iron plates that we like, so we'll just throw those in here, and of course give that a light bit of a speed boost. Good stuff, good stuff. At which point we can then go ahead and make another blaze burner, hopefully steal another blaze effigy, and then of course, as per usual, boom, and probably should have had that ready beforehand, but boom, there we go, not going to be a problem. Let's put you down right about there, and of course we'll get that set up with a clicker as well. And then once we have the induction smelter, that can go down right about here. Of course, we're going to set the bottom to input, the right to output. Auto eject is going to be set to on, and then we just need a little bit of copper, just the one ingot, and we also need some zinc. Again, just the one ingot will do. Over here, we'll do a high retrieval module, like that. We'll put in both the copper and the zinc, set that to up, and that should start to receive both of those, at which point that should start making the brass. The brass is going to make its way into here, and we should, if everything works well, see the spout turn that brass into glowing ingots. And we could filter the pipe here to only extract glowing ingots, but as per usual, I think it's probably going to be easier if we just use a storage drawer like this, and if we take the glowing ingots and lock the drawer to those, that is now not going to allow anything other than glowing ingots into the drawer, which is fantastic. We might have to make that induction smelter faster, but we'll see if that is the bottleneck in the future. And then from here, we can just connect you up again to the pre-existing Pretty Pipes network, and now the glowing ingots are available for this basin over here. So that is done. Let's also go ahead and grab a drawer for obsidian. We'll put that drawer down over here. I think what we will probably do is, again, if we take a little bit of the obsidian powder, we can then quickly place this down, place that into it, and lock it to make sure nothing else makes its way into there. Use our item pipes here to extract from this guy down and around into that storage drawer, and then you guessed it, we're just going to connect that storage drawer up to our Pretty Pipes network. So down here, I assume we have a mainline pipe. We do indeed. We have to be very careful not to connect to this pipe right here, so I'll go ahead and disconnect like that, at which point, boom, and boom, that connects up there, and boom, 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 that should be good to go. So now obsidian powder should be available for the chromatic compound as well. Again, our system already knows how to make andesite alloy, and so now it's a case of getting an enrichment chamber, getting a metallurgic infuser, and automating the production of nether quartz via soul sand. The enrichment chamber we can request, the metallurgic infuser we can't request, but is extraordinarily easy to make. Boom. And boom. And while we wait for this enrichment chamber, I'm going to work on moving this setup here over to our other island, and then see if we can't automate this nether quartz. And not too long later, we have the exact same setup now nestled nicely into our gigantic array of machinery over here. I've essentially gone ahead and placed down a vertical gearbox in the middle of what was already a vertical shaft, and so now that vertical gearbox is giving kinetic energy to this encased fan. That encased fan has water over it, and so if we do something like, not like this, if we do this with the item pipe and this with the EMC link, I assume that we can take one soul sand, right-click that onto here, set that, of course, to extract at the top, and then over here, we are going to want to get a pipe upgrade, because here we don't want to extract soul sand, we only want to extract the gold nuggets and the nether quartz specifically. So let's get a diamond pipe upgrade. Let's put you here. Let's set you to extract. We'll put you in like so. And then I guess we can actually just blacklist soul sand. So I just clicked here to swap filter mode from whitelist to blacklist, then click add, and then put in the soul sand. And then now that should extract anything that's not soul sand. And it looks like we already, actually, of course, we probably already have space on the wall for nether quartz. We do, we've got a block for it. And then, of course, gold will go over to its gold drawer as well. And so that should really be nether quartz automated. It really didn't take that much work at all, and is probably something we should have done much, much earlier in the pack. I might even go ahead and make another higher tier pipe upgrade just so that we can make it a little bit faster, because right now I think the bottleneck is how fast we can move out of this EMC link, although, as per usual, the EMC link is almost certainly also going to be the bottleneck here. Thankfully, we have quite a lot of the first 3 tiers of mechanical essence, and so upgrading all the way to magenta isn't too big of an ask. We're up at over 1,000 of the improved mechanical essence. That's very close to the 1,680 that we need. Let's do this, and let's once again set you to soul sand. And I'm hopeful that that's going to send more over. It's still not sending a ton over. It says 32 items every 5 ticks. The speed that is slowing us down, I guess, is still the fan, although making the fan faster doesn't actually increase the speed at which it processes the soul sand into nether quartz. It just increases the distance that it can do. So the only real way to make this faster is to use the time in a bottle, but I don't think it should be necessary. I think the nether quartz that we're getting should be fine, although that could definitely be a limiting factor for us. We'll find out very shortly. Back over here, what do we now need? Oh, of course, we need our metallurgic infuser, and of course, we need that enrichment chamber. The enrichment chamber is done. Let's take that back over to here. So how do we want to do this? I feel like we might as well just pump this directly into the basin. I don't really see a reason not to. You know what? Let's put it down here, just because I think it's going to look a little better. And then we'll have the metallurgic infuser down next to that as well. Let's clear space under both of those. And of course, let's give them both power. For now, I'm going to go ahead and use 2 flux points just because we have a bunch of them and it is easier. Boom and boom. And so now we need to send rose quartz to the enrichment chamber, and to do that, we have to send nether quartz and redstone through to the metallurgic infuser. So for that, we're going to have 2 pipes coming in, one on the bottom and one on the side, because we need to set one of those sides to yellow, which we'll do here. We'll set the right-hand side to input extra. We'll set the left-hand side to output, and we'll turn auto-eject on. We'll set the bottom to red, and then everything else to nothing. So I do have a high retrieval module. I'll put that in here. And we could, of course, put another enrichment chamber down here to more efficiently use our redstone, but we do have 62,000 redstone, and so I'm not too worried about wasting a little bit of it. We'll put that in like so. And in fact, we can utilize the method that we saw earlier, where we take a redstone block and we can put that directly into here, because you can put redstone blocks directly into the metallurgic infuser. Then we need another retrieval module. That one is going to request nether quartz, so we'll do this, and we'll say up and nether quartz. And once we connect that up, I think that should be pretty much good to go. So we'll do something like that. That's going to connect it to the main line. And then now, as long as this is set to input on the right-hand side, like so, and output to the left, with everything else being set to nothing and auto-eject being set to on, that should start to fill this basin here with the polished rose quartz that we need for the chromatic compound. And so the final piece of the puzzle is going to be to connect a pipe. I was going to say here, but that's not going to work, is it? Let's put a pipe here. Let's connect that up to the main pipe network as well. So I'll run that down and along like this. Let's get another high retrieval module. That's going to go right about here. And this one is going to request everything else. So we're going to do east to the basin. We're going to do andesite alloy. We're going to do obsidian powder, which I can't help but notice that we don't have too much of. I don't know how obsidian made its way down to the bottom there. I would assume that only dust would make its way down. We'll keep an eye on that. We also need, of course, the glowing ingot. We've got quite a few of those now, which is very nice indeed. And so over here, let's do obsidian powder. Boom. And glowing ingots. Boom. All of that should make its way into here. And is there no liquid? There's no liquid. This is all solid matter. That is perfect. So the polished rose quartz is coming in. Again, we can make these faster if we need to. The andesite alloy is going to come in. It might be the slowest just because of the fact that it needs to be crafted, although I did teach the system to craft andesite alloy a stack at a time, so again, whenever it's needed, it should just get made and sent over. Can't help but notice we're not getting any obsidian dust. Again, obsidian is making its way onto this. Oh, of course, that is because I am a fool, and when you crush obsidian with a crushing wheel, you actually have a fairly decent chance, a 75% chance of getting obsidian back. Okay, that is fine. In that case, let's take another drawer. Let's place that drawer right about here, and we'll have that fill up with obsidian, and it's almost certainly going to be worth putting a void upgrade on that to get rid of any excess obsidian to keep the obsidian powder coming in. While we wait for things to come through, we do also need to make another clicker. That is not going to be a problem. As per usual, we'll grab, ideally, something that's not obsidian. I almost went for the obsidian there, but that would not have worked particularly well. This, actually, we don't need it because we already have a pipe there. If I do this, that looks like it's working correctly. Of course, we do want to make sure that does not connect, and we also want to make sure that that too does not connect. And unfortunately, it looks like I am out of pipes because we only need like 2 more, 1 here and 1 here to connect this last clicker up, but that's fine. Let's go ahead, and I am going to request just another stack of pipes here because I have a feeling that, as per usual, we're always going to need more. But once that is connected up and once we have the blaze burner going, in fact, let me steal a blaze cake here to light this fire. Once that's going, I think we should start to see this working. All right, I think it is working. Of course, the only thing that I have not done here, I have been manually adding the blaze cake. So over here, let me take that stack of pretty pipes and back over here. If we do this, and we're going to connect it here, but we're going to disconnect it almost immediately from here. But that should just work. Let's go start sending blaze cakes over. In here, we're going to set that to click as fast as it possibly can. The final piece of the puzzle here is going to be to get another pipe upgrade that we can filter and then just extract the chromatic compound across from here. Again, we'll set that to extract with the pipes wrench, and then we're going to filter specifically for chromatic compound add. So that is doing its job. It's making stuff. I'm going to take basically everything out of there, though, because we want most of that in over here. That is fine. Let's drop all of the chromatic compound in. That's going to start making the refined radiance, and it's working. Cool. So we do have some refined radiance. Let me grab another storage drawer here. We'll put that down, let's say right about, yeah, you know, right about here. Whoops. Right about here. We'll put in the refined radiance. We'll set you to extract and pull that refined radiance out and around into here. Not that it's necessary, but we'll go ahead and lock the drawer as well. And now we should slowly but surely begin producing that refined radiance all the way up until we have 1,680 of the stuff. This appears to be working better now. The powdered obsidian is getting sent over, as are the glowing ingots, and it's actually potentially now the enrichment chamber and the metallurgic infuser here that are causing the slowdown. So how are we doing on upgrades? We do have 8 speed and 8 energy upgrades. And so let's do a quick check here. Is it the metallurgic infuser? It is. So we'll do this and we'll do that. That's going to make this faster. And do we have a spare installer? We do. I might go ahead and do something like this as well then, and upgrade that, turn auto sort on. That's going to start making that even quicker. And then over here, we can add the other 4 speed and energy upgrades. Hopefully that's going to make that a little bit faster as well. But that should now be making the refined radiance pretty quickly. It looks like the refined mixture is not going to be a problem for us. That's coming in quite nicely. How are we doing on HDPE? We're up at 2048, so we've maxed out on that, and I assume that we could make the remaining 1,000-ish that we need on top of the 2048 very quickly. So the refined mixture, not going to be a problem. It's really just how fast this can get the job done, which seems to be a question of how fast our system can make andesite alloy. Not quite sure why this is kind of stuttering. The rest of them are not stuttering. Like this one is working just fine, but this one here is stopping and starting over and over again. Oh, it's a power problem. That's interesting. That could also explain why some things are being a little slow. I have noticed a few times that this pipe pressurizer, it goes from being full on power to being empty on power very, very fast. I'm not quite sure what is using all of our power, because over here we're full on energy, which makes sense. And then out here, we are pulling up to 400,000 redstone flux every now and again. Remember that the supercritical phase shifter is not connected up to our main network, so that really shouldn't be pulling that much juice. That's almost at number 5, which is fantastic. That's going to be pulling a lot of juice, but it's pulling it directly from the turbine. But I don't know where the rest of that massive power consumption is coming from. It's quite possible that just our whole base is just like everything's running a lot more regularly now. Like all of the machines are online all of the time, making all of the stuff. So it's possible that's just too much to handle. But either way, even with the power constraint, this does appear to be working quite well now. We are getting more of the refined radiance. We're up at 40, and so we'll just leave that running between episodes, and that's going to hopefully get close to the 1,680 that we need. We have started to lose out on regular mechanical essence here. Again, that's probably because we've been making so much improved mechanical essence, but that's fine. Once this fills up, this will start to back up as well. And so next time we'll come back, we'll look at getting the potentially the ultimate singularity here, because we are pretty close. We hopefully should have the refined radiance, we have the nitro crystals, we have the precision mechanisms, we have the basic mechanical essence. We're hopefully not too far away from the regular mechanical essence because we have got the improved mechanical essence, and so we just need to get the advanced mechanical essence. We need 1,680 of those, and once we have that, it's just a case of getting the 8 ultimate singularities. And at that point, I think we're basically done. And of course, the last antimatter, which I assume is almost on its way. Yeah, we're very close to our 5th, and then it's just a case of getting the 6th. Once we have that, we can make the creative chemical tank. We can make all of the 7 final stars that we need in order to make the creative motor, which is pretty easy once you have the final star. The creative energy cube, which again, fairly easy once you have the final star. The creative storage disk, which is going to require us to get into refined storage a little bit. We have actually done no refined storage whatsoever, but we do have to do a little bit of it in order to get the creative storage disk. And then finally, the creative fluid tank, which is also fairly straightforward. We have the ether gas ready to go. Then we can combine the other 3 final stars with the 8th ultimate singularity. That'll get us the final power flower. Once we have that, we have unlimited EMC, basically 48 trillion EMC per second, which is going to give us a ton of EMC incredibly quickly. Once we have that, we can then go ahead and get more final stars. We do need to remember to learn the first final star in our transmutation tablet. That way, once we've made the first final power flower, then we can just get the remaining final stars that we need, and we can get all of the other final stars to make all of the other power flowers to make the creative vending upgrade. And so I think, chat, that we are not at all far away from completing this pack, but those are all problems for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Mechanical Mastery there.